Now, as you might have heard on Arise News, Pope Francis has given a group of Nigerian priests 30 days to pledge obedience to him and to apologize for rejecting one of his appointees. The priests, who are from the Ahhiara diocese in the southeastern Imo state, met the pontiff on Friday. They say the appointee, Bishop Peter Opaleke, is not from their community and they want the Pope to find someone else. But the pontiff has threatened to suspend the priests from the ministry if they do not pledge total obedience to him and accept Bishop Opaleke's appointment. So what should we make of this? Well, I'm joined now in the studio by Caroline Farrow, columnist for the Catholic Universe newspaper. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Pleasure. Quite an extraordinary story here. I mean, how unusual is it for the Pope to issue this demand for obedience, given the rather humble, conciliatory image most people have of him?
Well, it is extremely unusual. I mean, I don't think anyone can remember of any precedent in living memory. I mean, this is the sort of thing that the medieval popes would do. But then you also have to remember two things. Firstly, that this dispute goes back 5 years. So the Nigerian priests who were disputing this bishop disputed it when he was first appointed in 2012. And then a year later, when Pope Francis came along, he did try and appoint an apostolic administrator to sort it all out. So it's been rumbling on for 5 years. But secondly, you also have to remember, Pope Francis is a Jesuit, and underneath this sort of cuddly, loving exterior and this very warm and compassionate exterior beats the steely heart of a Jesuit. He is a Jesuit. He was formed in the Jesuit order that has a very strong tradition of discipline and obedience, and he's showing that when push comes to shove, he's not afraid to flex a bit of papal muscle.
I understand there was an initial enthusiastic welcome of this appointee, and then suddenly things changed and questions started being asked about why someone else from a different clan should be appointed. I mean, does the Church consider such issues when appointing a bishop, or do they just appoint whoever is qualified?
No, well, usually the Church does have a tradition, say, in places like Canada. In Quebec, they will appoint a Francophone bishop, and the same in Belgium. They'll try and get a mix, someone between the Flemish and the Walloon community. So they will try and take that into account. But I think also you have to remember that the Church in Africa, or the Catholic Church in Africa, is seen as quite young. And so what they want to do is try and get the African Church to realise the universal nature of the Church and not make the appointment very tribal and sort of consolidate the tribal nature. I mean, it is really, really unfortunate. I think a way back from it, I think everybody has to show a bit of humility, but maybe what the Church can do is think about appointing someone from this Mbezi tribe to a different high-profile bishopric.
It's actually interesting that in this case, I understand they're all from the same ethnic group and are all Catholic. So basically, the Vatican has taken someone from the other side of the road to be a bishop on this side, and then opponents feel that, no, he should have been from our side. That is apparently basically what the problem is.
Yeah, that's right. They feel that it's a form of sort of colonialism, you know, and they would like someone from their own tribe, which is completely understandable. And you also have to remember that this Mbezi tribe are really, really faithful Catholics. They're known as the Irish of Africa. You know, they produce an awful lot of seminarians, future priests. They're very, very devout, and they feel that their community should be represented. But of course,
should be rewarded more like this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess they want someone that's more in sync with their own particular sympathies and understands the needs of that particular tribe. But the Church is saying, hang on a minute, we are universal, and we have to. I mean, there's nothing to stop them from imposing, say, an Italian candidate if they'd wanted to. And I think that's what the Vatican's trying to get across.
Now, the priests have been given 30 days to accept the authority of the Pope and to accept this bishop Opaleke. What will the Vatican do if the dissenting priests stick to their guns and refuse to write this letter of apology?
I think Pope Francis will stick to his guns, and he will do as he's threatened and suspend them for 5 years. I mean, it would be desperately unfortunate, and that's to put it mildly, because it would put this particular part of Nigeria into schism. You know, they would be in de facto schism with the rest of the church, and nobody wants to see that. But, you know, I think Francis has shown he's shown in other matters that he isn't afraid to flex his muscle and to be authoritarian when he feels that it's necessary. He did this with the Order of Malta, and he's done this with a religious order called the Friars of the Immaculate, the Franciscan Friars of the Immaculate. He interfered in sort of the appointment process or overrode it. So I can't see any of them sort of stepping back, but I think a bit of humility is going to be needed on all sides.
Well, I just would love to see what sort of precedent all this sets going forward. Caroline Farrow, columnist for the Catholic Universe newspaper, thank you very much indeed. Very enlightening.